Xxxild. Thanks for taking the time to do that video response. So, I think I'll start this video by explaining why I personally take the MRA label, and I'm not telling anyone else how they should label themselves. These are entirely my thoughts on the issue. So, yeah, firstly, I mean, you know me quite well. I'm not excluding women's issues at all. I do care for equality for all genders, and I've even mirrored a few of the feminist videos, which I do strongly agree with. However, in balance, I do think that men face more problems, so that's where most of my activism is going to be faced. Problems such as circumcision for baby boys is illegal, whereas for females it's illegal. Men getting longer prison sentences for the same crime. Male rape victims aren't given the support they deserve. There's virtually zero accountability for people who make false rape allegations. Men are often looked on as dangerous potential rapists or paedophiles. The court system treats us like crap in cases of child custody and domestic violence. Men account for 90% of the workplace fatalities. House husbands are still looked down upon. Affirmative action helping women at the expense of men. Men make up the majority of prisoners, mental patients, homeless people, suicide victims, murder victims, and nearly every other form of violence bar rape and domestic violence, which are a lot more equal than most people are led to believe, and I could go on, believe me. Now, another reason I take the label is because all of most of the issues I've just raised are almost completely ignored by society at large, whereas the problems that women face are pretty well known about and already have millions of activists working for them. As for most of the feminist issues which I support, a lot of them I can see as valid concerns for the MRM as well, as I kind of briefly talked about in my previous video. There is one feminist claim I would quickly like to respond to, because I think this is kind of relevant to the discussion, and that's the claim that feminism is about gender equality. I've heard this mentioned a few times by feminists when they're saying, oh, the MRN isn't needed because feminism's about equality and we care about men as well. So, firstly, this statement implies, saying that feminism is about gender equality implies that if you're not a feminist, then you don't support gender equality. And if this was true, then you'd see just as much feminist material about the issues which I've just raised, and we'd be far closer to achieving the goals of equality in the things I've just talked about. If this really was the goal of feminism, then feminists would be advocating for trying to even it so 50% of prisoners, homeless and mental patients are women, and they'd be complaining about the disproportionate amount of men in those circumstances. Now, yes, there are feminists who care about these issues, but feminism as a whole doesn't, from what I've seen. So yeah, there are feminists who care about men's issues, and there are MRAs who care about women's issues. But as I see it, the movements themselves aren't about that. And this doesn't bother me, it really doesn't. There are still legitimate female struggles, and if someone wants to devote themselves to these, that's fine, as long as they aren't actively standing against the positive aspects of the MRM, and the same goes for MRAs as well. Okay, so for you not supporting the movement because of the bad eggs, well, that's completely up to you. As long as you kind of support the people who are making the rational arguments. You don't have to support the movement itself. That's entirely up to you. Personally, I don't look at it ideologically. I'm simply a men's rights activist because, on balance, I see more men facing problems than I do for women in today's society. And I've experienced many of the problems I've listed firsthand. even if every single other MRA was an arsehole, I'd still be a men's rights activist and encourage rational people to join and bring more balance to it. I also try to do my part for quality control if I see a bad argument made, and that goes for feminists and MRAs. If I see a bad argument presented, I will point it out. I'm also seeing a lot more of this in the men's rights community recently. I think one of the problems with the MRM is that our numbers are still very small, and this, I think, makes people less willing to disagree, because the amount of people who will support them is, of course, somewhat limited, and therefore, they risking alienation is a lot more of a heavy blow than it is for feminists. I hadn't actually seen the article you linked before, because most of the men's rights activism I do is here on YouTube. I don't do that much of it. I'm mainly focused on the atheist skeptical side. This particular article, the first half just struck me as extremely paranoid, which, if someone wants to be like that, that's completely up to them. They want to do everything in their power to keep themselves safe. That's completely up to them. But I do not want to live with that level of fear myself. The second half, telling men not to get involved with single mothers and strippers, they were making some pretty huge generalisations. All of the sex workers I've met online and in person have all been really fucking smart, articulate and trustworthy people. Trustworthy as far as I know. The advice I'd give to men is don't think with your dicks. Actually, that may be a bit strong. I'd say be skeptical of what your dick is telling you, and don't just go for the first woman who shows you some attention, no matter how desperate you are. Perhaps it's sensible to question why somebody is a single mother or a stripper, but they should be viewed completely as individuals and treated as such. Anyway, I noticed in the comment section that John the Other was willing to discuss this with you, and so I'm going to leave you two to discuss to basically sort that one out together. He also mentioned that you're looking at us now because of the whole A+ thing, and that now you're seeing non-MRAs being sceptical of this as well. Wise move. We saw this coming from about 2 years ago, and I hate to tell you that I told you so, but we did kind of tell you. Most of the videos I see criticising the MRM are just hyperbolic bullshit about how we want to put women back in the kitchen and hate all women. These kind of videos usually have no links whatsoever, or link to something like man boobs, which, as I said before, is like linking someone to Nazi literature to find out about the Jews. Yeah, MRAs can overgeneralise feminists, but at least most of the time they do this, they actually link to something a feminist has said, or give a direct quote. That's the kind of shit that we have to put up with. If you do a search for men's rights on Google or Tumblr, you end up with at least a page of hatred towards us before you actually find something that we've actually said. This doesn't justify when we give gross generalisations, but hopefully you can see why some of us are a little bit angry with feminism. For that reason, I really do appreciate your video response and the fact that you're open to discussion, and I really think that this kind of thing is needed, because no matter how noble the goals of a movement are, if they aren't open to discussion with outsiders, then they don't have moderation of thought, and they end up becoming a lot more extreme in their viewpoints. And I think that that is probably one of the main reasons why radical feminism is so bad. yeah, I really would like to see a lot more of this kind of interaction. Anyway, thanks for watching, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Ciao for now.